Liliana Escamilla is a 20-year-old student who studies communications. She talks about what it's like being a Latina American in a predominantly white city and school, and how society should normalize seeing Latina women as go-getters.
My parents definitely pushed me as a Latin American to get an education, make money for myself, just be an independent person so I don't have to rely on anyone and don't have to rely on anyone but myself, and really just make that money. So at a young age, it's always kind of been like that. Just kind of getting scared of the crowds that I would be in, knowing that there probably would be some groups of Latin Americans, but I always thought predominantly white schools would be just kind of intimidating, just because being such a brown woman would be kind of an outcast.
Yeah,
in a way.
Worried about facing discrimination, stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely discriminatory, just because I grew up in a very predominantly white neighborhood, white schools, and I had a group of a few colored friends, but it wasn't very often to see a lot of colored people in the schools that I went to, so I was already kind of used to it, but I guess just a university would be more intimidating in that sense. I was kind of just thrown into it, and I didn't really know exactly what to do or what to apply for, but growing up and having a couple years into college, I've kind of realized there's so many grants and so many things that people don't tell you about and schools don't tell you about. So you kind of have to do your own research and, really, look for those grants, because then it, really helps out with, avoiding loans and stuff like that.
Exactly.
I think we should normalize, Hispanic women and Latin women just to, being that in society, a go-getter kind of gal, instead of just, stay at home, do, the normal traditional things that we're expected to do within our families, and rather just... instead of that, just be kind of what's the word supportive in whatever we choose to do.
Zaira Juarez is 21 years old and in her junior year at California State University Northridge, where she is pursuing a degree in communicative disorder studies in hopes of becoming a speech pathologist. Juarez discusses the pushback she received from her community and the challenges she faced when she decided to pursue higher education.
It's not even the colleges themselves. It was more the stereotypes that come around being a Latina. You have all these pressures of being more of a housewife. So then it was more oh, you're going to go to college. You're not going to be the housekeeper, stay at home, have kids and things like that. So it's not really from colleges. It's more from the community itself, because there's such a stereotype that you should be a housekeeper and you should take care of kids and not really be the breadwinner, basically. I'm most first generation going to college, so I didn't really have anyone in my family to go to ask for help. It was my cousin who had gone, but then he ended up dropping out, so then I had no really big resources within the family to ask for help and everything, so I just had to rely on school and ask them how do I apply for FAFSA, how do I do all this stuff. So I think it needs to be more marginalized in the household.